This is a show about getting spooked for fun, and neither one of the hosts are associated with the attractions discussed in any way, except for those skeletons in Devin's closet. Some topics may go from ghoulish to ghastly, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Great American Scream.
Hey Adam, I know we're supposed to do a whole recap episode here, but I knew you had to have seen this coming. I'm going to hijack the show for a very important thesis statement for this podcast, not just now, but for all time. And I'm very excited to share it with you. Here's my thesis. Universal is just wet and fire. Disney, change my mind, please.
I can't, because I got wet on, I think, almost everything that we went on.
We went on Kong and Spider-Man and various other, I would say, land-based properties that are not mostly water-based attractions.
Not associated with the ocean.
In any way, or honestly, to the fires of hell. And yet, in all scenarios, we both got sprayed with an inordinate amount of water. This was not a mist. This was a finger held over a hose and somebody
it's like, when they water the vegetables at the grocery store? That's the amount of water that it was.
Right. You know how when you watch the mist go off on the vegetables, you stay there for a few minutes to see it, and it's very exciting. And it goes on for longer than you would think.
Yeah.
Because you and I, layman people in the world of vegetable watering, would think just a little spritz. But those things stay on for a solid 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's what Kong did when he spit on me, I think was the fiction of the ride. I'm not
sure. Yeah. I feel like the most, of the non-water-based rides, the most wet on Spider-Man. Because to be clear, the most wet we got was on Popeyes. Popeyes was like taking a shower.
It was a shower. What I like about Popeyes is that most kind of rapid style rides, which are probably my favorite kind of water ride, it's meant to be a lottery. This is meant to be the gotcha game of water rides, where you don't know whether you're going to pull my feet are going to get wet, just my butt. Oh, I'm going to get sprayed by one thing. That's what these rides usually are. Kali River Rapids, you can walk off that without a drop on you, bone dry, like a desert. Popeye says no. Popeye says, no, you're going to get wet on this ride, and I hope you enjoy.
Every single one of you will get wet.
Olive oil's going to spit on you. That one's not even a joke.
That's not even a joke.
That one's not even a joke. The Kong one was a joke, and this one is not.
Right, yeah. Well, since we have a lot to get to, I can't change your mind on it being wet Disney.
Correct.
If you can, tweet at us using the hashtag TGAS.
Yes.
But we are back. We did it. We just got back from a fantastic weekend at Universal Orlando, and most importantly, from Halloween Horror Nights 30. Woohoo! We did it!
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this is a horror podcast about culture and horror history and how it and also the kind patrons paid for part of our trip down to Universal Orlando for Halloween Horror Nights 30. You might have arrived here at this podcast thinking that it is mostly a roller coaster / attraction experience. That is incorrect.
I did ride a roller coaster, though.
Adam rode a whole dang roller coaster.
I rode a whole roller coaster, guys. And I didn't want to, and I did it anyway. Anyhow, we'll talk about the event. Like, we had a blast the whole weekend, especially the event. There wasn't a dull moment. I was totally blown out of the water by this year's event. I can't wait to share our thoughts with you. A couple of non-Halloween Horror Nights related things just about the weekend we just had first. Thank you again to Ezra Fisher, and to my friend Kayla Coppinger for tagging along with us, helping us get some really awesome footage, and just chilling with us for the weekend. We had a ball. And despite massive crowds and a holiday weekend, one of the busiest weekends of the year, we got a lot done this weekend.
We got more done than you would expect to on like a dead day.
Yeah. I got to ride Hagrid's for the first time, and it really did slap. I did not want to get on it, and I almost didn't, but I had a lot of fun on it.
Adam did this fun thing where he said, when we get on the ride, I'll be fine once I'm strapped in, which we both knew was a little lie that he was telling everyone. And so I turned around. I was on the back car of the train before him, and he was in the front. And I turned back to him and I went, "Yeah, woo, you did it." And he goes, "I hate you so much. I hate you. I hate you so much."
But I was having fun by the end of it.
Yes.
It's not that I was fine when I got in, is that I was captive. I couldn't leave.
Right. It's the point of no return.
Yeah.
I also got to ride Velocicoaster, which possibly is my favorite roller coaster ever.
Yeah. That
which
looks
is saying
crazy.
something because I've ridden all of them. We also rode the Mummy.
Because of course we did.
Duh.
Brendan was still there.
You know they're
He was
refurbing
great.
that?
Yeah, it's going down for like a 6-month refurb. A 6-month refurb makes me think that it's mostly a maintenance thing and that we're going to perhaps come back to a smoother ride and better graphics, which is exciting. And maybe the fire effects back in the first room, but we'll see. We also saw the best iteration of the Universal Horror Makeup Show I've ever seen, which if there was more history about that show, we would do an episode on it. But, you know, it's kind of been the same since it opened up. So there's not a lot to say about it. But that's a fantastic show. Don't skip that when you're at Universal. It is great.
No way. I want to shout out. I know it's taboo and Universal's going to kill me. But Summer Aiello and Robin Kelly are the current people doing Halloween Horror Nights. At least that show was them.
The Horror Makeup Show.
Oh, my God.
We saw
so
their
good.
show.
They are so good.
They were hilarious.
Oh, my God.
They did awesome. Don't skip the Horror Makeup Show. They're the only people that love Jack Pierce more than we do. We had a lovely stay at Cabana Bay. Wish we could have stayed longer, but alas, pool was great. But speaking of Cabana Bay, that's where I want to start off kind of our wrap up.
Okay.
Because this is the first thing that we did, like Halloween Horror Nights related, was the jacked up experience at Cabana Bay. This like experience, it's open from 2 to 10 each night the event is on. So we went on Friday night when we got there. You have to be staying at a Universal Orlando resort to experience it. So you just have to have your room key.
Not Cabana Bay, but not Cabana Bay specifically.
Any of the resorts. I thought it was originally just Cabana Bay, but apparently it's any of the resorts. It's just easier to get to if you're already in Cabana Bay. I liked this a lot. It was cute. It wasn't like a house or anything.
It was very cute.
Yeah, it was a fun little walkthrough that took a look at a little bit of Jack's history and some cool props from like past houses in Jack's lore. Like his Jack in the Box was there. And most importantly, like the whole thing was the human blender, which you get to take a picture in and you get to press a big button that makes fog and blender noises. And I always like to press buttons that make fog happen. That's great.
I pressed 2 buttons in that experience. One was the human blender, and the other one was it was just basically a pull my finger joke, but it was a button that says please do not press, and when you pressed it, this picture of Jack lit up and spooked us all. Yeah. And I had to do it.
Yeah, you did it. You're very brave. You're a brave boy.
Thank you.
And after that, you got a special video message from Jack and then another photo op. It was not a huge hit for me. It was cute. It was mostly just for the photo op and was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Big, like, Jack super fans will really enjoy it. I wouldn't call it, like, a must-see. Like, if you're not staying at Cabana Bay, you don't have to go to Cabana Bay to go see it.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. But if you're there...
If you're in Cabana Bay, sick.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, actually getting to meet Jack at the end would have changed the entire game. But there would have been like a hour plus waits for it. And we walked right into it. So,
right. Yeah. No, there's no way. That poor girl was already like,
yeah, that's
like,
what I have
going through it.
What I have liked to see though. And also in Cabana Bay, there was the Horror Icons Bar, which had this cool, little showcase of different icon costumes of past years, were a couple on display. It was very nicely themed. That seems to be where, if you are going just for Halloween Horror Nights, stay at Cabana Bay, because there's some extra stuff there for you. So moving on to the event in general, despite the crowds, event was a huge hit for me this year. I enjoyed this even more than when I went in 2018. Like we said before, the icon was Jack the Clown, and the theme, or like the like idea of the event, was 30 years, 30 fears. Tagline was never go alone. And it did a great job of paying homage.
Never go alone.
Never go alone. It did a great job of paying homage to Halloween Horror Nights years past, and it's kind of like a celebration of Halloween Horror Nights being back after being gone for a year. I did think it relied sometimes too heavily on paying homage to Halloween Horror Nights of the past. We'll get into that a little bit more as we talk about it. There were 10 houses, 5 scare zones, and 2 shows. We experienced 8 houses, all 5 scare zones, and 1 of the shows, like 1.2 of the shows. We saw a little bit of Carnage Factory.
Right. Yeah, 1 show and 1 back of the show.
Yeah.
Kind of the butt of the show.
And we actually knocked 5 houses out. The event started at 6. We knocked 5 houses out before 7 o'clock by doing Stay and Scream in the New York area. So since the event is almost over, I'm not giving away too many good secrets about it. Here's a pro tip. If you're trying to do New York Stay and Scream and you want to eat at Finnegan's, get there by like 3:45. Eat.
Yes.
You'll get your wristband in Finnegan's, so that way you don't have to wait to get into the Stay and Scream. They'll just give you a wristband in there and then hang out.
Yes.
Once you're done eating, hang out in the Stay and Scream on the street in between Transformers and the food stands, like where the biggest bar is. That's where they let you out into Bride of Frankenstein. Do Bride of Frankenstein, hit Halloween Horror Nights Icons and Tooth Fairy if you want to, and then power walk to the back of the park. That's how we got 5 houses done in an hour.
It was insane how we got those done. They also handed out the drink wristbands there as well, so that you don't get stopped by random undercover police officers throughout the park throughout the night, which was happening to people.
Shout out to the lovely people that we met online for Bride of Frankenstein, though. We didn't catch their names, but they're really nice. If you're out there, you were lovely.
If you're out there.
So let's start by talking about the houses since they're the biggest part, and we're going to share our rankings of the houses at the end of talking about each house. And I'm going to start with the 2 that we didn't go to just to get them out of the way because we missed Hill House and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I know like Hill House was like the headliner house. But
because of that,
it
and
was
the fact that neither of us have watched the
a crazy
show,
wait all night.
Yeah.
And like very heavy. We went on Saturday night, which is probably the worst night we could have gone. Like the Rip Ride Rocket, the ride had a 110-minute wait during which is like unheard. Like nobody goes on the rides during Halloween Horror Nights. So we missed out on Hill House and Texas Chainsaw. But Kayla went into both and she shared her thoughts. She said that Hill House was a really great homage to the show if you are a fan. She said she didn't find it very scary, which is interesting because I'd heard from other people that it was one of the scarier houses. But she said it would probably left those unfamiliar confused about the story because unlike Stranger Things where it kind of was simpler and spelled it out for you, I think this house probably assumed that you were already familiar with Hill House. So you might have been a little confused when you walked in. And Texas Chainsaw was very scary, very well done, very cohesive, and like stepping right onto the film. I'm kind of bummed that I missed Texas Chainsaw, less so about Hill House because I'm not a huge fan of the show. But in general, if I was going to miss 2, I'm okay that it's these big IP names, especially since we got all the OG concept houses done. I'm okay with missing Hill House. I wish I could have done Texas Chainsaw, but y'all, at like 12:45, my dogs were barking.
Listen,
and nobody had left the park.
The goats were bleating.
We were like, after midnight, people are going to leave, and there's going to be no wait for the houses. Incorrect. Everyone was still there.
Incorrect. We also ran into a Devin deals with sensory overload adventure where I went on an adventure throughout the entire park searching for earplugs, which they do not provide to you. Bring your own earplugs.
Yeah, do bring your own earplugs. They usually have them for sale if you need them, but apparently if you're going within the next 2 weeks, there was apparently like a shortage. They couldn't get more. So if you're going and you want earplugs, please bring your own.
It was a rigmarole to do it. However, that does mean that our night was very neatly split up into half of the houses, Devin's fun earplug adventure, and then the other 2 houses, or the other 3 houses that we hit.
So let's talk about the other houses that we hit in the order that we did them. So the first one we hit right after the Stay and Scream was Bride of Frankenstein Lives. This house was camp. I loved this house, but I knew I was going to love this house.
Yeah, this was the perfect starter.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't too scary. It eased you into it.
Right, and it was camp. Like if you wanted it to be a not as scary, you wanted it to be a fun experience, a camp experience, this had it for you. From like the theming and the concept, but also all the actors were having fun in a way that was
the
not
vibes,
full horror.
The vibes, not just in this house, but at this full event were really good. It's like, it really felt like every single team member and scare actor was so happy and excited to be there. And that really the
vibes were immaculate.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Bride of Frankenstein super scary, but the story was really clear. And because this is kind of like a half IP, half original concept, because it's a IP, it's Bride of Frankenstein, but it's a new story. And it's kind of hard to tell the story.
This is how you do IP.
Yeah, it's hard to tell the story in houses sometimes, just because of lighting and sound, and like it's hard to get all like the nuances and the beats of a story when you're, especially if you're walking through and like plugging your ears or closing your eyes or afraid you're gonna get scared.
Yeah.
But Bride of Frankenstein did a really good job of making the story very clear. I knew exactly what was going on at all moments.
Yeah.
The scene at the end, the finale where the bride brings him back to life was awesome. We all cheered for her as he walked by.
Yeah. So Ezra's complaint about the event is that like you don't have the chance to, because these things have thousands and thousands and thousands of people, there's no room for, if you're somebody who wants to take the haunted house more slowly, that's not really an option. You're briskly walking through, getting spooked and scared around every corner, and it's a totally understandable thing. That being said, houses like Bride of Frankenstein like did the thing where even walking fast, you were like, yes, moments, I got that, yes. And if this is the year to go, if you're not in it for the jump scares, and anytime you get too spooked, you just start cheering for all of the scare actors because they love it.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like we just wanted to throw love at every single scare actor that we passed. I put Bride of Frankenstein as number 4 on my list. I adored it. I'm pleasantly surprised it wasn't my number 1 because I anticipated it being my favorite house. But that just means that like there are so many more houses that surprised me even more.
Yeah, this one is tied for my 4th place spot. Okay,
interesting. We were also like the 4th people in this house, which really rocked.
Yeah.
We kind of got to start off their night too, which is exciting. The next thing we went to, as soon as we got a Bride of Frankenstein, we immediately booked it over to Halloween Horror Nights Icons Captured. And this house, it's weird to say that this house like warmed my heart, but that's how I felt. I was like comforted inside Halloween Horror Nights Icons.
Adam and listening audience, we have to understand that this represents such a neat thing for this podcast specifically of like, 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, we talked about you trapped me in a LaGuardia co-op room and talked to me about Halloween Horror Nights, and I knew nothing about the event and learned about all these stupid little characters that they created. And then this year, this house happened, and so I was like, I remember that guy. Yeah. Oh hell yeah, I remember that guy. It was a heartwarming experience.
Yeah, I loved. It was so exciting to see all the icons together, and it felt like you really got to see them and have like almost a moment with them. Just the way the scares were designed. Like I made eye contact with every single one of the icons. I cheered for them. I had an almost extended interaction with the caretaker while we were walking through. He was great.
Caretaker has like, it's also because he's kind of in the round. Like he has like 3 different scare windows that are very obvious. And so you get to like follow him through, and it's so nice.
Also, the plexiglass is great, guys. Like I know people were like, oh, it gives away the scare. It doesn't. I looked directly in the plexiglass 7 times, went, there's a guy in there. And the guy went, whoa, and I still screamed.
And you went, ah. Yeah. I agree. It also, Ezra brought this up as well, it brings a level of when the scare happens, the plexiglass is there, but your brain forgets about it for a millisecond, gets super spooked. You still have that moment, and then you go, right, plexiglass. Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was perfect.
I did not mind the plexiglass at all. It also reminded me of really how close scare actors get to you on usual years. Because even like the plexiglass was like inches from you. Because I remember walking through the Lady Luck part of this house and trying to look for where she was going to pop out. And I was like, it's so tight. Where could she be hiding? And then she popped out and scared me.
And then she still popped out. She still did it.
Everybody was there. Everyone did their iconic kills. We got to see the director toss that toaster in the bathtub. We got to see the usher beat somebody with a flashlight, and we cheered him on real hard.
The usher had his own room. They all
had their own room.
Well, but there are these pods that like you actually walk out into a more open room than usual, and usually there's an attendant there, and that's like a little atmosphere moment where there's like a set or something.
It's like the in-between, the transition into the next scene.
There were 2 times during the night that a scare actor was in one of those spaces. The first one was the usher, where he was beating the guy with the flashlight, and it was incredible, and we loved it. And we got to like turn around, walk backwards out of the room, and be like, "Yeah, we love you so much." There's the second one, and it happened in Beetlejuice. And we'll
get into that. That one was funny. It really felt like a love letter to Halloween Horror Nights and a celebration of the icons and a celebration of the people, and was one of my favorite just experiences of the night and of the whole trip. We got Jack on the throne at the end, which is really exciting.
Yes.
We started bowing to him when we came inside.
And he loved it.
And then, and he hit his trigger and the fog went off and we were like, yeah. I would have loved to walk through a second time to see a different person up there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of houses that I would want to go through a second time, but crowds were insane.
In my heart, the storyteller one.
I would have loved to see the storyteller up there. The only icon that I missed was Chance, but that was because I was looking in the wrong direction in whatever room she was in.
Yes, I saw Chance twice somehow.
Yeah, I missed her. I missed her both times, which bums me out because I love Chance. This was initially my number 1, but after some reconsidering on the plane, this got moved to my number 2, only by a hair.
Very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
I actually have it tied with Bride as 4th.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll talk about it because I fell in love with 2 of these houses.
Yeah,
so much.
I can see how people without an emotional connection to Halloween Horror Nights, or even people who aren't familiar with the event, would be like, what's going on in this house? And that's even more so the case with Scary, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Actually, no, we'll talk about it next because it was the next house we went to. Yeah. Because after this, we said, goodbye, front of the park. Here come the 6 o'clock crowds. We're going to the back of the park.
Yep, goodbye. My thing is that I loved icons. Mm-hmm. It hit me very hard. It's just like my entire top 5, technically, because the tie for 4th means that there's 5 in the top 4, technically. Mm-hmm. I just loved so much.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's not big spaces in between the rankings on this list.
Right.
And honestly,
mine was a fight for 3rd.
Yeah.
I had a fight for 3rd place.
The next house that we went to is we went into Welcome to Scary Horror in the Heartland. I want to preface this by saying that I was really excited for this house, and I think we got kind of a weird walkthrough because it was still daylight when we went inside. So our eyes didn't have time to adjust, and I could not see a damn thing in this house. I was walking in the front so I walked in the front of all these groups because I'm a brave boy. But I was walking out with both of my hands out in front of me to make sure it didn't hit anything. And every time I saw a house attendant, I was like, which way do we go? I can't see.
I really loved being the caboose in the train.
The caboose is fun.
I still got scared a lot. I still got those jumps, but I also got to have Adam has a TikTok on his popular TikTok account where he's offered Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair tickets, and then he goes, wee, and he goes off the thing. And Adam, though that was not his voice on TikTok, he basically did that anytime he got scared, where he got scared and then got very happy about the fact that he got scared and wiggled away.
I would do a little dance. I kind of trot away from each scare because I get excited. Because I like when I get scared because I'm like, oh, good job. That was a good one. Nice.
Yeah.
High five. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was not super impressed by Scary, and I think I really would have loved to walk through this again. I think because of the speed at which we were walking through the house, which we did, honestly, our fault. We didn't need to be going through it this fast. We were pretty much the only ones in there because we were there early in the night.
Yeah.
But we were walking through it quickly, and I couldn't figure out exactly which lore points we were hitting on in Carrie, and I felt confused as to where we were. And I definitely think that people with no idea of Halloween Horror Nights lore would have absolutely no idea what's going on in this house. Even if you know the icons, you really have to be familiar with Carrie lore to know where you are. We did go through 2 things I was really excited about. One was the Meats Butcher Shop, and we saw Meaty Meats, which I was really excited about. Oh my God,
Meaty Meats. There were times when I was struggling and I was upset with myself that I didn't re-listen to the first episode to reacquaint myself with everything going on. When we walked into Meats Butcher Shop, I was like, I know him. I remember him. I know him.
And the other one was we got to go through the HR Blood and Guts Holidays of Horror room, which was one of my favorite past houses that I always wish I could walk through. But again, we got a weird walkthrough because we didn't get an HR Blood and Guts pop-up in here. But we did also see Cindy, which was great. I was really excited that we saw Cindy and the caretaker again, which is cool. I see him in 2 houses. This house did give me my 2 biggest scares of the night, though. The very beginning and the very end. First, we were we weren't even inside the house yet. We were just passing through the facade, and then Meaty Meats popped up with a chainsaw behind a wall and got us real good.
Got real good. That guy was excited.
And then, oh yeah, he was excited though. He got us too. And then on our way out, we got to, so every house ends in these double black curtains to cover up backstage. And when you see those curtains on either side, you're like, okay, end of house. I am safe. No.
House is done.
There's your first mistake.
House is done now.
Because we were like, ha, that was great. And then from the left, a man with a chainsaw. I didn't even see who he was because I think I ran.
Yeah, I don't know who he was.
Because he just popped right out and got us so good. That was my biggest scare of the night. That was great.
Yeah, he chased us out of the house.
Yeah,
even
security
chased us out.
Even security was laughing at us at the end of the house. Like, that was a good scare. Good job, dude.
Yeah, I agree with your things. Like, I liked getting to experience. I thought the atmosphere and the like the bits that I could see with my good eyes that couldn't see anything. I was really, really impressed. I really enjoyed all of the I almost said facades, all the tableaus and the scares. I thought they were really, really good. I agree. I wish I could have gone through it slower, and I wish I had a bit more knowledge of the scary lore. But as somebody with a passing understanding, I thought it was really effective.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit jumbled.
Anyway.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit jumbled to me. That's why it was my number 8, but I still loved it and wish we could walk through again.
Yeah, mine, I had scary at technically number 6, behind Icons and Bride.
Gotcha. Next house we went through was Wicked Growth Realm of the Pumpkin, and y'all, this house. Everyone was telling me that this was the best house of the night, and at first I kind of didn't believe them, and then also I really didn't know what exactly would make it the best house of the night, but man, this was a good house.
We have talked, I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the first episode of the podcast when we talked about Seeds of whatever.
Seeds of Extinction.
Seeds of Extinction, that plants are the scariest things ever. Like, they're just scary. Fallout New Vegas has the vault that's taken over by plants. It's scary. Plants are scary.
Every time Halloween Horror Nights is a plant house, they knock it out of the park.
And how could they not? It's if you have seen Over the Garden Wall, Pottsfield, the village made of people and pumpkins, I went into it being like, it's gonna be like Scary Pottsfield. Ha ha ha! I made a good meme. It was Scary Pottsfield and amazing. It's so good.
This was both the scariest and most well done house of the night. The facade was awesome. You walk through this garden trellis full of pumpkins. The scares were amazing in here, and we had a really good walkthrough where I was getting it from all ends constantly.
Right, and the thing that's so amazing about this house is that the scares were never so intense that I checked out of the immersion of the thing. It was because there were some scares later in different houses that when I got scared by them, I was like, "Ooh, okay, we're let's walk, let's go." I'm gonna be back on for the next tableau, but for right now, I'm scared up.
Yeah,
I'm all scared up here, folks.
Thank you. I'm good.
This one hit the exact right point where I was like, "Holy shit, that scared me so much," and I'm so ready to see more. Give me more of the pumpkin.
I pulled my shoulder in this house. I was holding Kayla's hand behind me, and we had to walk in single file this house because it was one of the narrow ones. So I was holding Kayla's hand behind me, and there was a window scare, which the window scares are always good ones because they feel like they're gonna snatch you up. But because it was a window scare and he was at my head level, I ducked and my head went back, and Kayla was still holding my hand, and I really pulled my shoulder good.
Yep.
And I out loud went, "Ow!"
We realized how old we were on this trip. In many ways.
And also at the beginning of the house, it smelled like raw pumpkin, and then it started to smell like pumpkin pie as you went through more. It was so cool. And it was gross without being gory, which is really interesting. This was not a bloody house.
It was the perfect level of gross, where the gross, it was not attempting to gross you out. It was using the gross to enhance the spook.
Yeah. The more I thought about this house, it became my number 1 because I adored Icons so much, and I had such a good time of it. But I think when you factor in just execution and how scary it was, this edges out to number 1 by a hair. It was so good.
It's my number 1 by I was about to say a country mile, but not quite, a quarter of a country mile.
Okay. Got it.
So by about 1,200 feet.
Yeah. So the next thing we since scary and pumpkins and the next one are all right next to each other, we went bam, bam, bam. Because the next house we went into was Puppet Theater Captive Audience. And I was really excited about this house and its concept. And we also got a hot tip from our friend in the Bride of Frankenstein line that this house was very scary.
Yes.
And I think this is another one. We got a slightly strange walkthrough of it because we walked into it right after a cast switch. And when the cast switch happens, sometimes it takes a few minutes for the actors to get to their boo holes and stuff. So we were missing some of the scare. So I wish we had gotten to get through it again. Like there was a stretch in the middle where I didn't have anybody pop out at me. But I love the concept of this house so much.
Right. I had trouble where I lost the plot on the concept because of the lack of scares. But that said, the vibes of this house, I don't want to say immaculate because it was scary.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad vibes in a good way.
Yeah. I think
bad vibes.
I think this house would have been very scary if we had had more of the scare actors. But what I got to see of the scare actors, I loved. I loved the Hamlet dude in the box with the heads. That was my favorite room in the whole house. He was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I loved the ballerinas.
Costume room.
I loved the costume.
I liked the backstage costume room.
Yeah, I always love the sensory parts of the house, like when they have stuff hanging, so you like bump into it and you feel it in the sides of your face and stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that part, but that part is mostly because of pandemic things. I'm like, gross. This thing has touched so many faces, but that's understandable.
Yeah. There was also a little gnome puppet in this house that I really loved. Like sometimes, even in the scary houses, sometimes I throw like one funny jump scare in there. And this was the gnome where it was a mask that had two little puppet feet that the actor could put his two like fingers in and it was like a big head with the little feet and he made it dance. So the flash and the sound of the scream went off, but it was just his little gnome dancing in the little box. It was great.
So stupid, so good.
It also smelled like popcorn in this house at some point, which was cool. I love when they use smells. Smells are fun.
Yeah, the smells are really cool.
Again, I really, really, really love the concept of this house and the design. It was a gorgeous house. The facade was beautiful. Everything about it was beautiful. We were just missing some of the characters, which was why this landed at number 5 for me.
Okay. It's my number 7.
Okay, cool. Next thing, this was the intermittent period when we went on an earplug adventure, and we also saw Halloween Nightmare Fuel. We'll talk about that later. By the time we got to the houses again, we decided to stick it out and wait for Beetlejuice, and I am so glad that we did and didn't save it for later because this house was a blast.
To spoil it, this house is my number 3, but like
it's also my number 3.
It was so much fun. Like it was so
fun.
It was just a romp.
I had
start
a ball
to finish.
In this house.
Yeah.
I totally lived up to the hype. And like there were a few good scares, like they got me good a couple times, but it was mostly laughs and going like, "Whoa, that's so cool." Also because I love the movie. It started off in one of those like warp tunnels, which I almost ate shit in.
I literally
think it was a fun way to start it, but
yeah, it was right after my earplug journey, so I had made the decision like, okay, I'm gonna have my fingers in my ears. This is gonna be a sensory experience, but that's part of like why I have found that I do like haunted house experiences because I can choose. You can choose to buy in or not buy in, and it still like works for you. And in that tunnel, it was the perfect encapsulation because I would walk up like you're supposed to, get woozy, and then look back down at the ground and be like, "Oh, that was fun. I like getting woozy. Okay, let's do it again."
Yeah,
and back up.
It was a great way to start off the house. All the Beetlejuices in this house were awesome. They were living for every single moment. Especially the one in Dante's Inferno. We had a nice little interaction with him where we cheered him on to flash us, and then he flashed us, and then we cheered even more.
Yeah, that was when we were just in a room, and I was expecting a facade, and then there was a Beetlejuice covered in horns. And I was like, yes, good, okay.
And then he pretended to flash us, and we all went, yeah. This is a house for everybody. Even folks who don't like getting scared could have done this one and had a great time.
This is the people's house.
This is the people's house. Barbara got me good several times.
Barbara
got me good a lot.
Barbara. Good job, Barbara.
And the fact that this house wasn't very scary would have normally knocked it down a few pegs for me, but it was just so good that it's my number 3.
Yeah.
And this is another one I would have loved to walk through again just because I loved it so much. And we had a couple elements missing. One is that the sandworm wasn't running, which bummed me out because I wanted to see the sandworm. And then the talking Beetlejuice at the beginning was switching out, so we didn't get to hear too much from him.
He still got a few things in. I do need to talk about Wicked Growth. Like large scale animatronics or big props kept blowing my mind. The sandworm, even though it wasn't working, I was like, whoa, that's so freaking cool. And in Wicked Growth, there was that giant pumpkin at the end.
The Pumpkin Lord? He was great.
The Pumpkin Lord. Those things are insane.
We bowed to him as well.
It's like the whole, so good. I love you, Sandworm. Sad you weren't there, but I still loved you, even though I just saw you up in the ceiling.
Yeah. Next up, we went over to Revenge of the Tooth Fairy, which wasn't very high on my list of priorities, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. We had a very good walkthrough of this house, a lot of scares. We hit pretty much every boo hole in this house, which was great.
Yes.
This house was very immersive. And the way that they went about telling the story through the narration stuff was really cool. The sets were very immersive.
The
storyline
was incredibly clear.
Yeah. The facade was awesome. The paper with like moving and stuff.
Yeah, that we're telling a storybook story was very, very good.
Yeah. I loved that it was such high concept and such a clear concept. It's just that the concept itself wasn't super interesting to me.
That's exactly where I'm at. I also, you have in here how you like, say the next thing that you have.
But that all the Tooth Fairy's characters are just little guys. All the Tooth Fairies are just little guys in scary masks.
That's my thing. And we'll talk about the next house because it's a positive for the next house that I think is a con in this house. Mm-hmm. All of those characters kind of looked the same, and it wasn't clear they were all just little guys.
Yeah,
and
it was a similar scare over and over again. There wasn't a lot of variety in the scares.
But that being said, I thought it was very good. I also appreciate, as somebody who hates anything surrounding teeth, I hate it, to a point of discomfort. None of these scares were they're pulling out the teeth. It was all just interesting gore around the head area.
Yeah, same, because I don't like teeth stuff either. And this didn't. I was fine in this house.
Yeah.
Even though it was still pretty gnarly.
Freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, still freaky, still gnarly, still like jaws being completely ripped out. But I was like, that's way cooler. Obviously, this freaky little goblin guy is going to take the whole jaw.
Yeah.
Why just take one tooth?
And this was my number 7, but I did enjoy it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it is my number 8, but not. It's a king of. I usually say this is a king of Piss Mountain kind of situation. It's the opposite.
The Piss of King Mountain.
He's the fool of. He's the fool of Good Mountain.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
also finally,
my nickname in high school.
Finally, the last house that we made our way through was Case Files: Unearthed Legendary Truth, which I loved. This house. I loved this house.
Is so good.
This house is great.
This house was concept-wise incredible. That it I don't want to be the kind of person who is I think they should make a movie out of this because not every good concept needs to be made into something else. But this was such a clear concept, executed so well with so much lore behind it that you could glean just from walking through it at a brisk pace, which is the whole point of haunted houses. But it was done so well. And
this was one of the vignette houses where it's different excerpts of different things that are connected, kind of like how Slaughter Cinema in 2018. And
an
those
anthology house.
Yeah, those houses tend to sometimes feel a little jumbled or disjointed. Case Files did not feel like that at all. It felt very cohesive. And I know there was a mystery to solve, and I was supposed to be looking for totems or whatever. I was not. I'm very sorry.
No,
I was too busy.
I'm not getting any totems.
I'll go back and watch videos and look for them and try and figure it out. I loved how there was a meta theatrical frame of this house. It wasn't just they could have just done different where it started, where it was a scene from this book, scene from this book, scene from this book, but they added the frame of somebody researching and reading these books that you started in the 90s with a guy reading these books, and then you went inside the book in the 40s. I think that was so great to tie it all together. The Kitty Cat Club scene was amazing. That was my favorite scene in the whole house.
Oh my God. Live singer.
Live singer? I didn't even realize she was singing live.
Over an entire haunted house. And she was so incredible.
Yeah.
And to the framing, that's what Universal does well. That's what they do, is they put an extra frame around a thing that when you view it through that frame, you're like, oh, wow, this actually elevates the experience. That's the whole thing that Universal does well. So seeing it used in a house was just genius.
Yeah. She was awesome. And I loved the final scene of this house a lot with the reader, like back in the 90s, like possessed with like light pouring out of him and the big rune thing on the floor.
It was so cool.
That was really cool. I don't know why that happened to him because I wasn't paying attention, but but it looked really great.
Yeah, everything about the animatronic or the puppet that I'll call out here is just a big devil face.
And the Cat Club, yeah.
Which was just fully a like 40s like cartoon, like kind of Cuphead-esque devil, but it was so effective. Like it was just, you were going, oh my God, that's so freaking cool, but it was not detracting from the immersion of the experience. It was, oh my God.
Yeah. This ended up at number 6 on my list, but honestly, I don't know quite why, because 5 through 7, I think, can all get switched around depending on my mood. It's not like there was really nothing I disliked about this house. It's just that other houses like edged them out. I could have definitely switched this one in Puppet Theater around as well, because I really like this one.
Yeah, it was my number 2. I fell in love with Wicked Growth and Case Files. They were so good.
Yeah. Those are all the houses we made it through. So now I want to talk about the scare zones.
Yes.
I came up with an arbitrary ranking for these scare zones. Honestly, I think the order that I wrote them in is probably the order that I would rank them. Starting with Crypt TV, which was my favorite scare zone of the night. 8 should have been way bigger than it was. It was so small.
That's my problem.
It was so tiny, which was disappointing to me. And also because it's sort of, I think because the area it was occupying, it was really tiny. There were not a lot of characters walking around. Most of them were on those raised stages, which kind of meant Universal put themselves in a pickle because that made it into kind of a photo op thing. So it bottlenecked all the time because people were stopping for photos. But we saw the Birch. Yeah. We saw the Mordeo. We saw Sunny Family Cult. We saw the Look-See. It was so cool.
We got a picture with the Birch. At first, when we saw the Birch, we were like, she probably doesn't want to take pictures.
Yeah.
But then when we walked by the next time, she was taking pictures with some of her children, and I was like, of course she's going to take pictures. She's going to put her arms around us like she does in the videos, and it's going to be so good. And we got a picture with the Birch, and I love her so much.
Yeah, she was great. She was so cool. We had an awesome experiences with the Look-See, too, every time that we saw him.
Yes. The Look-See, if you were the Look-See Saturday night and you performed for a gaggle of gays.
Thank you.
Of gouging out the eyeballs. We love you. Send us a tweet.
Thank you. That was my favorite.
We'll have you on the
thing that happened in a scare zone all night. That was so much fun. You'll see it in the video when that video comes out. Only complaint, too small. Too small. Way too small.
Give us more.
Should have been much bigger. But all the characters in here were having a ball, which is great. Because
absolutely.
I felt like that's probably the scare. And what made me a little bit sad is that I was like, all these people are stopping for photo ops in here, and there's a good chance that a large majority of these people have not seen a Crypt TV short before and are just like, oh, scary monster. Oh, another scary monster. So I hope that despite that, the scare actors look like they were having a ball, and I hope that they got recognized for what they are, because they were great. I loved Crypt TV. The next, which I think my second favorite, was Lights, Camera, Haction, Eddie's Revenge. Eddie was there. Eddie,
my good boy.
I was so happy to see Eddie.
This one was really cool. I don't think it was my, I wouldn't put it second personally, but I thought that the actors in this zone were having the most fun.
They were having a blast in this scare zone.
The hard part of this one is it's similar to Icons or Scary, where if you don't know the history, you're just not gonna get a lot of them. But the strength was all the people in the suits knew exactly who they were, and they were owning it. This
one also had a meta-theatrical frame, though, because the whole idea is that Eddie was shooting these movies, and each one of these different scare zones represented a different movie. I thought it did a great job paying homage to the scare zones of the past, as well as utilizing Eddie in a really good way, and the Chainsaw Gang, who there was not a Chainsaw Gang in Springfield this year where they usually are. My guess is that with both this Scare Zone and a Texas Chainsaw House, they just didn't have any more people to train with chainsaws.
That's fair.
Which, by the way, if you don't like chainsaws, this is a Scare Zone to avoid.
Yeah, do not go in this.
Because this is the chainsaw one. If you avoid Springfield, usually Springfield is fine this year, but this is the chainsaw one. I just kept pointing to different characters going like, oh, that was from that Scare Zone. And hey, that was from that Scare Zone. And oh, I remember that one. That's from that Scare Zone. It was great. Everybody here was having fun. We didn't catch Jack in the Scare Zone, which is a bummer because I wanted to catch him because this is where he does kind of his talking and his heckling of the audience. And he likes to stand up there with his brother, Eddie. So I wish we could have seen him, but I really enjoyed this Scare Zone. Walked through it a couple times. I love that clown who had the horn and was just honking it. Wasn't doing any.
Oh my God.
His only scare was honking the horn. And he
walked by us and spooked us, and then his horn honked, and we just burst out laughing.
The next one was Gorwood Forest, which was Tara Cruntis.
Tara Cruntis was there. I'm so upset that she is not an icon. She needs to have her time in the sun. We saw her. I got some B-roll of her fully just playing for the camera,
great.
performing. It was. The only thing about this one is I also think it was a bit small.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do a forest-themed thing in a place where there's only really one treed walkway in the park. But they did so well. They had this all of these little hidey holes for the...
Yeah, this Scare Zone had triggered scares, which was awesome.
Yeah. And they had there's little guys in each of them, and the little guys were like Scyther, the Pokemon, but if Scyther was made of wood.
And one of those,
so good.
Yeah, you usually don't see triggered scares in a Scare Zone, which normally I don't get jump scared in Scare Zones. But this Gorwood Forest got me really good because there was a triggered scare, and he came running right out of that hidey hole. It got me good.
Yeah, and oh my God, if you don't know Scyther, it's literally like a praying mantis, and the mantis claws were like pieces of wood, so the actors could put the claws in front of them and fully melt into these little hidey holes.
Everything was super organic in the Scare Zone. The creature design was camouflage, organic, very kind of nature-y.
Yes,
it blended in really well. Again, plants. And yeah, this is a great Scare Zone. The Scare Zone they put in Central Park is always a really good one. There have been some great Scare Zone there in years past. The next one was Seek and Destroy, which was the alien one. We had a lot of fun in this one. It wasn't my favorite concept, and I also didn't find it super scary, but it was fun to walk through.
Yeah, I think Seek and Destroy is my favorite just because I had the most fun in it. Mm-hmm. The actors in this one, it had the highest density of actors.
Yeah, it was biggest. It was the biggest Scare Zone besides Haction, maybe. And it had the most characters in it.
And it was just, so this one was the concept where you're in a future dystopia where it's aliens and they're trying to find the humans.
Yeah, because they're killing humans for fuel.
And so there are people in these white outfits with these silver masks, and they have flashlights and sticks that they wave at people.
Yeah.
And they have searchlights, especially at night when the fog machines were running. They had searchlights that cut beams through the fog. Mm-hmm. It was just, that was super immersive and fun. But the concept, the idea of having a concept that allows scare actors to go up and be checking people for stuff, it's very Stormtroopers and Galaxy's Edge.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, a way scarier version of that.
Yeah, it allows for a really concise, creepy, scary interaction that doesn't need to last very long, that you get the second it happens, and it can end right there and you're still satisfied. It was just such a cool zone, and the people there were having so much fun.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun.
I'm sorry to whoever I walked up to. I goofed in this one a lot. Ezra also goofed in this zone a lot because Ezra was wearing a little plant sprout hat, and so he just acted like a Pikmin and hoped that they wouldn't think that he's a human. I kept saying that I was a totally normal alien who drank space Diet Pepsi and ate worms. And I also, when one guy was walking up to me, said, "No, please don't scare me. You're so sexy. Ah ha ha. I'm so sorry to you specifically. It was not appropriate, and I'd like to apologize and be uncanceled now."
I can't take you anywhere. I also wish we could have caught the little stage show on this one, but I never caught it, but that's okay.
But we did see Cyber Cruntis, who is Tara Cruntis and the Birch's third wife.
Yeah.
because they're in a little throuple.
And then finally, the last scare zone, which is actually the one at the entrance scare zone, was 30 Years, 30 Fears. I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I just really didn't know what it was supposed to be. And I was informed by a friend of mine who is a scare actor that it was supposed to be a tribute to former front of the park scare zones, which I don't think was necessary because, like, Lights, Camera, Action was already paying tribute to the other scare zones, and, like,
yeah, it's too specific.
yeah, and like I think it's just they were like, we got to put something here. We got all these costumes laying around, just throw them out. Jack and Chance should have been in this scare zone. It would have made way more sense.
Right, if they had the entrance zone be 30 years, setting the tone for 30 Years, 30 Fears, and it was Jack and Chance being like, ah ha ha ha, welcome to our scare zone. We've got all the icons, and like. You didn't need to have any of the icons other than Jack and Chance, but you definitely needed them. The pumpkin guy, though, the Cybertronic pumpkin man.
He was great. Shout out to that guy. We loved him.
Loved him. And the people performing, like, there were very high race stages, and there were people performing up there. They were all really incredible if you stopped and watched them.
Yeah.
But scare zones aren't exactly for you to stop and watch.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't huge on this one. It was fun to walk through. The music was great. And the pumpkin guy was awesome. But yeah, I think Jack and Chance should have been in the scare zone. Or like every icon has had their little like minions sort of. So that could have just been filled with them too. I digress. That was all the scare zones.
Now let's talk about the show, the fountain, the amazing, incredible fountain show that we saw
all minute and a half of as we walked past it. Yeah. We just didn't have time to stop and watch the Lagoon show. We saw it from the back. Yeah. It was a Lagoon show. I'm sure it was great. So
let's talk about the actual show that you need to go see, every single person. This is worth admission. You don't need to go to any of the haunted houses.
Like, without exaggeration, Halloween Nightmare Fuel was better than literally all the houses. And it's not because the houses were bad. The houses were all amazing. This show was unlike anything I have ever seen in a theme park before. I've ever seen anywhere before.
It was insane.
It was insanity.
Like,
how much money does that show cost? With just insurance.
I fell in love with Wicked Growth. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I am now a fan of haunted houses because of this event specifically. All 8 houses that we went into were incredible.
Yeah.
The caliber of design, of performance, of atmosphere was incredible. That said, fuck all those haunted houses. You don't need them. Just have Halloween Nightmare Fuel. Have 20 shows a day.
Have it year-round.
Incredible.
Year-round.
Close down Universal. You don't need it.
It was amazing. Do not skip this show. We couldn't film during the show, but I'm sure if you're on Halloween Horror Nights TikTok, you've seen all of it.
Yeah.
Do not skip this show. It's aerial performances. It is so much fire, pyro, magic, dancing. People are naked. It was amazing.
A big buff man getting chained up.
Yeah. It was amazing.
It was so good. You have to get there early.
Yes.
People were so excited.
We barely made it 15 minutes before the show. So if you want to see it, we went to the 9:30. If you want to see it, get there early.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, it was excellent.
It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous how good that show was. It kicked Academy of Villains' butt. I still miss Bill and Ted, but if that's what our Bill and Ted replacement's going to be, I am cool with that.
Bill and Ted couldn't do that.
Yeah, it almost filled the Carnival of Carnage hole in my heart. I still wish there was a Carnival of Carnage. But that's okay because Halloween Nightmare Fuel is amazing. There was a really nice variety of food offerings at the event. We didn't eat a ton. I got a twisted tater because of course I did, but I saw that. I wish I could have tried that Chance PB&J that everybody was talking about.
The deep fried one?
Yeah, but there seemed to be a really nice variety of food at the event this year, and there were a lot of places to get it, which was nice. I wish there were more cocktail offerings because there was only the 2, and you couldn't get in the Twisty Cup, which made me sad.
You couldn't get it in the Twisty Cup is my issue with them. The tea one was very, very good.
Yeah, I liked both of them.
I liked Gold Juice. My thing about them is that they weren't different enough to justify putting them in a Twisty thing, and they knew that.
Well, because they were both rum-based, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they were doing the Twisty thing, that's usually like one is like a vodka cocktail and the other one's a rum cocktail, or one's tequila and one's whatever.
Which, hey, do that.
Yeah. But then you really only need to buy one and you are good for the night after drinking that.
Let's be clear. Lucas, avert your ears. We were good.
Yeah, we were
the
good.
whole night.
Don't worry, we were good. And there was a lot of merch this year, which was nice. A lot of variety of merch. Like sometimes Halloween Horror Nights just releases like the one t-shirt design and it's kind of ugly, but there was a really wide variety of good merch this year. I got myself a t-shirt. I got a shot glass. I got the Midnight Syndicate vinyl that I told myself I wasn't going to buy, but then I saw it was a limited press,
But
and there
you
were only
totally did.
there were only 1,000 of them, so I had to buy one. And like just all together, I had so much fun. This was such a great event this year. If you haven't gone yet, don't miss it. It's such a welcome return of Halloween Horror Nights after being off for the year. The vibes are really great. Everyone's super excited to be there. Like, even you expect with a crowd that heavy that people are going to start to get like pissy, especially later on in the night. And from what I observed, everybody seemed to be having an excellent time despite the crowds.
I had a pissier person at the gym I work at today than I saw in our entire weekend at Universal Studios. It's a great vibe. Like, everybody there, like, not just the scare actors like we were talking about, the crowds are also like ready.
Yeah.
Like, they're excited, they're chill. I would say about more than half of them were masked.
Yeah.
Or like maybe half.
Yeah.
But if you assume that a healthy amount of those people are vaccinated and a lot of them were wearing masks, it did not feel crazy.
Yeah, I would highly recommend wearing a mask and going on a weeknight when it's less busy because besides the plexiglass, there were very limited safety protocols. I wish there was more. So if that is something you are concerned about, do please wear a mask when you go and go on a less busy night. Because that'll help you like space out a little bit more, especially it was mostly in queues and like in houses because they still send you in the like conga line. So do wear a mask, use hand sanitizer, wash your hands, and go on a less busy night for best results. I do wish there were a little more restrictions and it was a little less crowded. I would have felt a lot more comfortable.
Well, yes.
I would have felt a lot more comfortable if guests were also required to wear masks in the house.
Yes.
But I had an amazing, excellent time. I'm so glad that you came with me, Devin, that you also had a good time.
Oh my God, I had such a good time. And Ezra, renowned person who did not want to really go to a theme park for understandable reasons, really enjoyed himself.
Yeah.
Which is like the highest praise I can give something, is that Ezra liked it.
So yeah, please, it runs through October 31st. I actually think it runs through November 1st or 2nd.
Nice.
Go. Especially nobody's ever there the final night, the night after Halloween. Go then.
So go.
Have an awesome time. Report back to us.
I will warn you, at least one of the houses sprayed me with water.
Oh yeah, I got wet in a house.
I don't remember which one it was.
I don't remember which one it was. Was it Wicked Growth?
I don't know.
I got wet in a house.
Listen, it's a Rapids Ride style situation.
Yeah.
It's a gotcha game, and you got to check your pulse.
Yeah. But yeah, go and please report back to us. Tell us what you thought. We would love to hear it.
Absolutely. But I mean, next week, back to the old grind.
Yeah, it's almost Halloween, baby. You think we're gonna stop? Nuh-uh. Beep beep. Full speed ahead.
Yeah, thank you for listening to this episode of The Great American Scream. If you enjoyed, please leave a rate and review on iTunes or follow us on Spotify. But the best way to spread the word about the show is to tell a friend. Please do that. We had such a great week of downloads just about a week ago, and we still don't know where they're from. So one, if it was you, let us know. But two, those kinds of organic growths are not only super exciting for us as creators, but they also are exciting for our fellow community members who are excited to engage with other people about the content of this show, which Adam works very hard on and I also do some stuff for. Adam, can you give our social medias?
Yes, you can check us out on Facebook at The Great American Scream, or more frequently on Twitter and Instagram at Great Scream Pod. All of our live Halloween Horror Nights updates are on Twitter if you want to go check them out. Please, if you've been to the event, please tweet at us. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what your favorite house was here at Scare Zone was. I want to hear all about it, what you thought of Halloween Nightmare Fuel. You can tweet at us or post using the hashtag TGAS. And remember, as always, if there is something you'd like to hear about in the show, tweet at us, make a post, because your suggestion may become topic for a future episode. Devin, when and where can we expect our little wrap-up video to go?
I am hoping to have it out on Friday, the 15th.
And where can they find that?
At youtube.com. If you search The Great American Scream, we are what shows up.
YouTube channel.
I think it's my YouTube channel, but I don't have enough subscribers for me to have my own URL.
So
just work on that.
Yeah, you'll see some stuff about the Great American Scream Machine, and you'll probably find us. And we'll post links on social so you guys can find it too.
Special thank you goes out to Michael Segudo, who does the intro disclaimer, as well as Stevie Viola, who does the intro and outro music. A super, super special thanks also to all of our patrons, especially today, because honestly, you guys are the reason that we could make Halloween Horror Nights work. It is so exciting. And we hope that we'll be able to continue to do stuff like that. Thanks to your incredible generosity. Specifically, I'd like to thank everybody at our Man in the Fields tier or higher. So thank you to Regina, Ben, Gail, Joyce, Melinda, and Chris. I've been Devin Wright.
I'm Nana McConnell.
And hopefully you have been spooked. Too dry at Disney? Go to Universal. We got the wet for you.
We got the wets.
Flames to dry you off.
We got the wets. It's all about the wets.
The Arby's hit me up.